Get off video.
I'm glad.
I'm gonna need it one more time.
We all get.
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay
You
with
have your
being focused
report on the.
I need to switch places.
Oh, I
And
think you're
sent
all
you
on
a
it
access
today.
request and you know the plan.
Like that? I'll make another
Oh,
copy.
okay.
Okay, okay.
Oh, that's right.
That's good.
Yeah.
I just shared it to Dina. That's what I usually do. He's not able to access my report. And it was last time I got an email and I opened it.
It was
I
locked.
just didn't see
Sure,
it.
yeah.
No, Drew's out now.
I don't know.
I'm done.
It happens.
Well, but I was trying this email. Because listen, I let you.
I appreciate that.
If I would have seen your, I just missed the email.
Yeah, no. Somebody else would enjoy this. 6 years, but I'm concerned enough.
Pretty sure this will make my last ride on this merry-go-round.
When it takes one bad experience to make it not work anymore. Yeah.
I missed the meeting.
Oh, well, yeah, there you go. You could just do that. That'll work.
I'm not a quitter, but.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, I'm done, I'm
Two
done.
terms.
Exactly. I'll finish it, but I signed up.
This clay laser could be.
Michael have time on.
I know, but well, it's your fault,
Yeah.
pretty much right now.
Oh, it's just.
Like now.
That does hide
I'll
these
take that.
special place.
Travis, you wanna
I have this great view.
I feel like the lack of, like, there.
That happened to me a lot.
Well, so far, Shane plays on the freshman team, and he was like, I don't know, he didn't know basketball play, so I'm not sure why I signed up. He wasn't happy, so I'm stuck there.
I've gotten lucky. This drives right now. She comes to the ball game, so it's been nice. Been coming out.
I wish Sherman would explain to him that
You stand around and
area with dance fees. Instead of walking all the way down to his friend said.
You provided sign language for those captions.
Yeah. I had to do that right away.
Hey, can you
I think we should play that for a
You sure you don't? Okay, all right.
Oh.
You do have a best seat, yes, please.
That I'm hoping tomorrow, yeah.
I am, and I've got that person so fast, and I really don't know if that was positive or negative, I don't know,
Like in the
I'm
inside.
concerned about that in my head.
It's like,
I don't know.
He actually had the audacity to tell me that this is better. It was.
Who's your way?
Sam, I love you.
Okay. But they're not recommending those.
Oh, I don't, if you want that, I.
Being senior
She
attention.
got
Or-
one option, like, the training.
No, forms or anything like that. All right, we'll call the meeting to order at 6:31. I'd like to welcome everyone that showed up. First order of business, approval of the agenda. We have a motion by Mark. Second by Dennis. Further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. 6-0. Nobody has signed up for open forum, so we'll move over to the approval of consent agenda. Approval of the regular open session minutes.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Dennis,
Second.
second by Naomi. Further discussion? In favor, right hand. 6-0. Approval and transfer and payment of bills. Was there any questions?
No.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve payment and transfer.
We have a motion by Mark. Second.
I'll second.
Second by Naomi. Further discussion? All in favor, right hand, 6-0. Reports, elementary, Ms. Kingsley.
Good evening. Enrollment is staying about the same. Our virtual, worth noting that we had 4 students participating in launch, and we're gonna have 2 come back to campus, and then we'll just have 2 that are doing the virtual learning with launch. Grade level means we continue having those. We have reading on the first week of the month, and then math, and we do some kid conversations and so forth, and sometimes we have another math one or something else that we might need to do. So in reading this last month, the teachers viewed a video I asked them to watch with Dr. Jan Hasbrook, which really is one of the leading researchers with the science of reading and understanding what's going on with that relevant research. We did a shared document with a variety of questions on it, the teachers responded to and got to respond to each other. And so really spurred some fantastic conversations at our grade level meetings. And then so out of those meetings came, the last question I kind of asked them that they responded to is what now, or what action steps would you like to take? And so they're asking for some professional development in this area. So Dr. Brown, who I worked with pretty closely in my past, who's the assistant superintendent over in Columbia, is going to come in February and do some PD with us and just talk a little bit more about the science of reading and where we go from here. And she's just, there isn't anybody else I'd want to be here really. And she's local. She's somebody close by who knows what she's doing. So they've asked for that. And so she's going to come on board. They're asking for some other things too. And I'm trying to provide some online professional development for them as they ask and what they're needing to really understand different facets of reading. And I'm just really pleased with what they're doing. And our lower elementary teachers have commented that they are really loving what our Title I staff is doing with their students and how they're helping the students really progress through these areas of reading, and that they're seeing a big difference in their classroom. So just really, really pleased with how the whole building is approaching reading and some of the changes that they're making. In math, we just continue to work on our Missouri Learning Standards and putting those into units. Second grade finished today. They took a little bit longer because they're both new to second grade, and I'm glad that they did. Really reading and understanding those standards very well. And so they completed putting all their standards into units, and we're working on making pacing guides. And the value of that is when we come back in January, we'll be able to sit down in our grade level meeting and really look at our pace. Are we on track for where we need to be by the end of the year, by map testing and so forth? We'll also bring in a lot more evaluate data at that point because we'll have a lot more of it. They just finished their evaluate testing last week. And so that we're really getting a good snapshot now of where our kids stand and how prepared they are with moving forward in their next grade level or moving forward with map testing. I think I kind of mentioned with reading with our title staff, they'll be doing the middle of the year benchmark assessments in January. So that's a really good picture of where every child in our building stands in regards to the foundational skills in reading. So we can look at that and then we'll sit down and have data meetings and really analyze that data and figure out where our students need to go for interventions to really close that gap on their foundational reading skills. So we'll be doing that in January. I mentioned evaluate testing and looking at that data as we move forward into January. Something else I wanted to mention, and I don't know if I've mentioned so far this year, but we really worked early in the year as a team. How do we want to recognize our students? What do we want that to look like? Different ways that you can do that. Sometimes you do student of the month type things or catching kids being good. But as we really talked, we wanted to recognize all of our kids because they're all good. Every kid is great. And we just have to find ways to recognize them. And sometimes when you do a student of the month, you end up going years and never recognizing certain kids that do a great job. So we decided that we would, our goal being to try and recognize at least every student every quarter. And so they're really working on that. So every day we have Way to Go Wildcats. They come down and the teacher fills out a certificate and puts on there what the student earned it for. It could be academic achievement, it could be being kind, being helpful, being considerate, any kind of social emotional type thing that they're growing in, whatever it is that pertains to that child that really shows that they're standing out and doing a great job. And so I call their name over the intercom in the morning, they come down, when they get here, then I read on their certificate what they earned it for. Then we get their picture and we put it on Facebook and out on our webpage, and we're getting some positive feedback on that. And I'll tell you, the kids are tickled when they get their name, when they come down, they can't wait. And I mean, they are just beaming when I read what they've gotten it for, and they are proud of that certificate. So I'm really pleased with how that's going, and I think we're recognizing a lot of students because, like I said, they are all great. We just have to find ways to recognize them and bring out the good in them. So that's been a positive, very positive program this year. Our behavior committee continues to work on the school-wide behavior matrix, and their goal is to try to roll that out into the kids' hands in January and really start teaching the kids what the behavior expectations around the building are. We do not have major behavior expectations. Let me rephrase that. We don't have major behavior concerns. We have isolated behavioral concerns, and we work with students on those, but holistically, we don't have major problems. However, we also don't always know what the expectations are. So, maybe in the cafeteria, what should the voice level be? How should something work? Where do you sit? Things like that. So we'll kind of get those things ironed out, and then all teachers will kind of know what they expect of their students, and we'll have that similar expectation throughout the building. In technology, just want to mention that we did purchase, I think, 10 new document cameras with some summer school money that was left over. Teachers were really tickled to get those. What they can do then is lay something, maybe a piece of student work or something they want to go over underneath the document camera and puts it up on the projector. So that's been helpful to them, especially if they have limited materials in some way, they can show everybody and talk through something. So we do have a lot of those new in the building. I did want to mention we had first grade do some Thanksgiving plays and some music, and we had parents come in, and then with COVID going on, that's not something we've been able to do much with, but we used the gym. We just did one class at a time. They distanced, every person wore a mask, and it went really well. So both first grade classes ended up doing that, and they're also going to do some Christmas events. So I'm glad we're finding ways to get parents involved and getting them in the building, and they were so appreciative for the opportunity to come and see their kids. So just really glad we're finding ways to do that. Also along those lines, the Christmas concert, we had kindergarten, 5th and 6th there, just did a phenomenal job that night. They sounded so good. Kudos to our music teachers, whose names are, of course, not going to run into me right now. But they're Mrs. Sherman and thank you, Mr. Tucker. They just did a fantastic job with the kiddos, and they performed so well that night. And again, parents wore their masks, and they came and they followed those rules, and I appreciate that. This is a crazy month. The month of December, it's such a fun month, but it's also a very busy month for teachers. It can be a very stressful month sometimes with the kids excited, but we've had so much fun in the building. We have door decorating contests, teachers singing in the hallways, kids singing in the hallways. We've had dress up days and snacks. We're collecting some donations just among the staff for the local inclusive playground. We want to support that. We kind of got together as an admin team the other day and wanted to give a gift to the teachers. So we gave them the gift of time, and we took their kids for a little bit of time and gave them some extra planning time, and just to get their heads around some of the assessments and things that they need to be doing here at the end of the year. They appreciate that very much. So a wonderful, honestly, wonderful time of year, even though it's a very busy time of year. Things are going well. So do have some upcoming events that I listed down there. And then we'll be back with our teacher PD day in January 4th. It won't be too long, but we'll, I know, enjoy those 2 weeks break. But any questions?
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Middle school, high school, Mr. Foster.
Hey, as far as enrollment's been staying pretty steady all the way through here the past couple of months. Went up and down a little bit the first couple of months, and then it's bounced back out now. Discipline was actually down the last month. Only had 12 referrals throughout the last few months, so that was good. That was nice to see. Part of that is Thanksgiving breaks right there in the middle, and you kind of get that week off, so obviously there's no discipline during that time. I'm going to jump into second semester here real quick. Virtual, I don't have this in the report. The virtuals, people have signed up for virtual learning second semester. We have 12 down total. And then 3 of those students are still pending, depending on one of them, for instance, is trying to get her A+ hours completed. She can't really do that if she's not here at school. Things like that are going on with those 3 students. And so they're trying to decide what's going to be their best route, what they're going to try to do. Going down to the events this week, and end of last week and this week, we completed our PD, mid-year PD reviews. I did most of the teachers on the 11th, last Friday, and I had to leave for the conference principal meeting in the middle of the day. And so I didn't get a couple teachers done. I got those done yesterday and today. They're seeing a lot of good things with those. Teachers are seeing some things that they need to change with those. Some different goals. Of course, this year's different with everything, COVID, and I hate blaming everything on COVID all the time. But COVID is just affecting so many things, so teachers are going to have to adjust their goals as they look at their PD plans throughout the year. I'm going to go along with what Ms. Kingsley had. Band and concert have been doing some great things. Our band and choir have been doing some great things and some great Christmas performances. They've been adjusting and having to adjust. Once again, I'm going to go back to COVID. For instance, band had only a day with all of the students in the band to perform a Christmas concert. So they adjusted and they changed things around and put something together virtual to send out. So that's been really nice to see. Finals are going on right now over at the high school. We kind of adjusted schedule away from your traditional schedule this year. We did our non-core classes yesterday and today. So those classes are out of the way, and then we have our core classes starting in a 2-hour block schedule, starting tomorrow afternoon. So they run tomorrow afternoon, Thursday and Friday. And then I'm taking the students for an hour on Thursday and Friday, giving the teachers a break, same as Ms. Kingsley's doing, just kind of help give them a little bit extra time, give them some time to put some things together, grade, that kind of thing. Also, with breaking it up that way, it gives extended breaks for our students to study and hopefully do well on their finals, especially those core finals as they're going through at the end. We had attendance appeal December 9th. We had 14 students who had to appeal for attendance this past semester. Out of those students, 3 were restored, 7 were put on probation with 90% rule. 90% rule is something that the attendance committee want to do different this year. It's saying if a student does not have 90% or higher attendance for second semester, that they're going to lose their first semester and possibly the second semester if they drop over those 10 days. The committee wanted something that would reinforce the importance of being in school and attending school. So that's what they decided to do there. And then they had 4 students who were a complete loss of credits that they would have earned in the first semester due to attendance. Another thing is I do not have on there, it was posted into the Facebook page and on the school website. The FCCLA Life Spartans team placed 9th out of 40th. Will advance on to nationals. That is down in Tennessee, and then that will be towards the beginning of the summer. Evaluate data. So I didn't have this in last month because they were actually testing and doing those evaluating testing the week that we did our board report, and I want to have complete data together for you. This is once again comparing September to November testing. So it's apples to apples, same standards, so we can measure the growth for those classes. ELA had a 1% growth. Algebra 1 didn't show any growth. So both of those are high school classes. Your growth margins aren't going to be as big in high school. There should be some growth, and they are getting better, at least hopefully at minimum maintaining. But you're not going to see as big as jumps and as big as growth marks at those points. And then our 8th grade ELA and our 7th grade ELA both showed significant growth. And then our math, 8th grade and 7th grade, both at 16% growth. This week, along with finals and everything else that we have going on, we also have the Lynn Invitational Basketball Tournament. I'm jumping into athletics right now. That is kicked off and going smooth through the first 2 nights, so that's good. I know Clay had a couple teams that had to drop late due to COVID. Teams test positive, whatever. He's done a great job to adjust those schedules back and put the bracket back out, get everybody as many games as possible, hopefully getting a roll in 3 games by the end of the week. Current boys record is 6-2 as of today. And they took first place in the Eugene tournament this year. I believe they made it to the championship of the Eugene tournament 3 years in a row. This is the first year they took first place in that. And then the girls' current record as after last night is 5-3, and they took third place in the Eugene basketball tournament earlier this year. Any questions?
My son mentioned he was done with finals. I don't know how many students are done with their finals, but is there any thought of to get those kids out of here as far as COVID goes and that kind of thing for the rest of the week? Or there are a lot of kids that.
There's not a whole lot of kids that are completely done with finals. The ones that are done with finals are the ones that had a lot of those college classes, those AP classes and things like that. What I've been looking to do for them is to have something for them to do at school while they're in school so that their attendance doesn't get knocked against them at that
Thank you. Superintendent report.
So as far as goal 1, they've covered a lot of it as far as evaluate testing and DIBELS testing and finals and that kind of thing. When I wrote this report last week, there were currently 16 scholarship opportunities listed in the bulletin and 7 opportunities for students for summer opportunities. So I really hope those kids are taking advantage of those. Not only the scholarship opportunities, but a lot of those summer opportunities end up having a scholarship tied to them later down the road. So hopefully the kids are taking advantage of all of those opportunities. Mrs. Wolf does a fantastic job of keeping those updated in the bulletin on a regular basis. One thing about that's not under that because it happened after I wrote our report. Last week, the State Board of Education determined that they were going to go ahead and administer the MAP and EOC assessments this year because they want us to be able to see where our kids are, where our gaps are and that kind of thing. But those assessment results will not be held against us or used in any way for accountability purposes because they recognize the unique circumstances that schools are in this year with kids in and out constantly due to quarantine and illness. So unless they change their mind down the road, right now we will take the MAP and EOC assessments as we normally do, but they won't be used against us for accountability purposes next year. Again, as far as goal 2, a lot of things they've already mentioned, so I'm not going to go over those again. One shout out I definitely want to make as far as parent involvement goes is Eric has streamed. I know he streamed the Thanksgiving play. I know he streamed the kindergarten powwow. He streamed the Christmas concert. He streamed, we're now live streaming basketball. I mean, he has really just done an outstanding job of getting all of those things streamed because we can't get everybody in like we normally do. So now we're trying to get everything out. He and I joke around that we're going to have to send him back to a broadcasting class or something, but he has done a fantastic job with that. I think every time he turns around, one of us is saying, "Hey, Eric, is this possible?" I'm sure he gets really tired of hearing that because his answer always is, "Well, probably. We could probably make that work." So shout out to Eric there. As far as recruiting staff and developing staff, Melanie Brandt and Beth Plume are continuing with their letters training. They had a trainer that actually came to our school and worked with them on December 3rd, and I know that they felt like after that, whenever I have spoken to them, they have just felt like that training is so valuable to them. And so I'm glad to see them getting out of that what they need to. We have posted our vacant kindergarten position, and Mrs. Kingsley is collecting applications for that. Since we weren't able to hold our annual Christmas party, last week we had a very COVID Christmas that was held in the administration office. We broke everybody up into small groups and had them come over on their planned period or whatever break they might have had. And they played a few little games and then they got to get a prize. And so I think everyone had a good time. I think it was fun. It was nice to see everybody in lieu of our annual Christmas party. It was just really nice to get everybody over there and be able to see everyone. I will say they made the administrators play more games than anybody else. So I'm just going to go out there and say that, but it's all right. District facilities, over break, Eric is planning to work some on our new access points and security cameras. Our new elementary Chromebooks got here yesterday, so he's only got, I don't know how many of those that he's going to be working on as well. Our new custodian has started and she's doing a fabulous job. So we're so excited to be back up to full staff in our custodial department. And then of course, Steve continues his annual maintenance duties as well. That's all I have.
Move on to discussion action items. Special ed program report.
Mrs. Williams is actually our supervisor tonight at the basketball tournament, so she is not here. She has provided a report for you that is in your folder. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer those. And if I can, I'll be happy to pass them along to her and have her get back to you with an answer. Any questions about anything that was in her report?
Okay, we'll move on to counseling program report.
That would be us. Okay. I'm Joyce Everett. This is Shannon Wolf. Basically, if we are just going to kind of highlight some of our different points that we do. Guidance curriculum. I spend a lot of time in the classrooms. I'm teaching 15 classes a week, going over some guidance things with kids. I talk about friendship. I talk about feelings. I talk about problem solving. With 5th grade, DESE is required that I do a suicide prevention talk with our 5th graders. So I cover bullying, we do character traits, careers, those kind of things. So that's what I do.
For guidance curriculum, I don't spend as much time as that with that in middle school and high school. And so I do the required lessons like bullying and suicide prevention, but with my extra duties and the time that DESE kind of allows or recommends for us to spend on each thing, it's just less in the high school than in the elementary. So my lessons aren't near as consistent as Joyce's are.
For individual planning, this is where I focus on like the career paths, and I do more of like a career interest inventory with like my 5th graders. I'm so excited to hear that we have Chromebooks now for the elementary, so I plan on, hopefully that's part of my PD goal, is to implement more online activities for my kiddos. So I plan to do that next semester, having more career opportunity or counseling type focused things where we can use the internet. This is where we also do testing. We focus on map testing. We do IQ testing, those kind of things when it comes to individual planning. Shannon's is a little bit different because she does a little bit more testing than we do at the elementary school.
Yeah, so I spend the bulk of my time on individual planning, and this includes doing those ICAPs with every student every year. It's the individual career and academic plan, which was formerly known as the 4-year plan. But so I do that with every student every year, and we keep that updated and go over that. Schedule changes really absorbed a lot of my time these past 2 weeks, as you can imagine. And so then I also am manage those and like sending transcripts and giving those assessments and things for academic and career community.
Responsive services is more along the lines of where we do like our individual counseling. So I do have some kiddos that I see on a regular basis, and then I do, like if there's a crisis or a kiddo is just having a bad day and needs to come up and see me, that's where we focus, or I do in this area. We also are blessed that we have Michelle Crispin, our school-based therapist, so she does see a lot of our kiddos that need the more intensive or trauma-focused type counseling. So we are very blessed. Right now, I think she's got 29 kids on her caseload, and she has 2 like that are pending, getting all the paperwork in. So we keep her busy the 4 days that we have her here, that we're very blessed to have her here.
Yes, we are so fortunate to have Michelle. She, like Joyce said, is able to work with those kids who are really dealing with trauma, and she just connects so well with the kids. Some of our hardest kids to get to, she is able to connect with them. And I had a kid just today say, I was just checking in on him, and I was like, how's it going? And he's like, oh, good. I finished up my last session with Michelle today, and so I asked him how it was going. He's like, good. He's like, I don't think I would have passed any classes if I wasn't working with her. I was like, gosh, it makes me feel so good that we have that opportunity here for him. And the same thing, so a lot of times the teacher will just send me a quick email, hey, this kid seems off today, will you talk with them? And so I go in my office and it's kind of what I do for responsive services. If someone just kind of refers the student to me.
System support is where we try to involve our staff, our parents, or even the community. As you all know, things have looked a little bit different in our building because of COVID. But we were able to get some businesses here, or get some businesses to donate some candy for the Halloween parade that we have, so that looks a little bit different. We weren't able to do the wellness fair this year, or to have the foster grandparents that we normally do, but we're still doing like the buddy pack program. Shannon and I both try to attend the system of care meetings virtual, if it fits into our schedule. We meet monthly with DFS to coordinate services. But I would like to say our community is wonderful. We are very blessed. I have some churches that I can reach out to if I need like school supplies or shoes or coats for kiddos. So the community is still very involved here at our school, even though we don't get to see them as often as we would like because of COVID.
And on my end, trying to connect with parents and let them know the opportunities that are available for their kids, such as those summer opportunities and scholarships. This year we could kind of put job shadowing and then mock interviews on hold because of COVID and inviting people into the building. But we're hoping maybe if things kind of clear up in the spring, we'll be able to bring that back. And then just supporting different clubs, like Random Acts of Kindness, the Pep Club. I help organize the Wildcat of the Month and recognizing those students. So new this year, we have both kind of had some more responsibilities with our virtual students. So we kind of help monitor students who are on the launch program. That's kind of a learning experience.
Yes.
I also have a practicum student, Brooklyn Rimmert, this semester, and she'll be with me next semester as well for her internship. And that's been really nice to have that little extra help there. And then also most of our college reps have gone virtual or kind of not at all. They've realized that virtual, the kids aren't showing up and logging into the meeting. So they've kind of just said, well, here's my contact information if you have a student interested. And so we've kind of been doing things differently that way. The other thing is that I have been trying really hard to send out an email to all the parents and senior parents and students on Fridays. An email I call Free Money Friday, and it just has a whole list of every single scholarship that's currently available to students in hopes that they will fill those out, since they're just click the link and then it brings up the scholarship instead of having to come down to my office or get a copy that they're at their fingertips regularly.
Some of the improvements is Shannon and I have a really good working relationship. We talk to each other and bounce ideas off of each other. We coordinate things with our families. Again, we have Michelle Chrisman, who we also coordinate with. We meet with regularly with DFS. We weren't able to go to the Missouri School Counselor Conference this year, which we really enjoyed last year. So we're hoping that COVID will disappear and we can do that next year. That's just a good way for us to network with other counselors in the state of Missouri, not just here in our conference, but in the state of Missouri. We also do have like an email with our counselor conferences or counselors within our conference that we regularly communicate with, but it's always nice to branch out and meet other counselors and see what they're doing in other parts of the state of Missouri. So Shannon keeps updates on our Facebook page.
Again, just putting those scholarships out there and those summer opportunities. Sometimes we put like volunteer opportunities as well for students to get 8+ hours. Just any kind of updates that would pertain to students kind of coming from one of our departments. We kind of keep updated. And then for our goals, we would like to continue our MAP and EOC incentives. I know last year was kind of iffy with funding and things, and so we hope as we continue to test that we get to offer our students those incentives to do well. And then again, if the Missouri School Counseling Conference is available next year, we'd hope to attend that as well. You guys have any questions?
Shannon, so as we talk to counselors around the state and we're seeing in our numbers, students aren't focusing on college applications, getting all their paperwork done. Are you seeing that here?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of uncertainty with our kids of what's going to happen, and they're not really sure. And do they want to go to this college and have to do it all online? That's a really big concern, and just an overall lack of motivation, I think COVID has kind of done to us. It's really unfortunate.
Do you see that changing in the spring?
No.
No?
Honestly, no. I hope, I could say yes, I'll say yes, but I don't know. Maybe some students will feel that pressure to get something done, but I'm afraid unless COVID changes a lot, I hate to keep going to COVID, but I think unless something significantly changes, maybe the vaccine will help, I don't know. But unless something really changes, I see our kids just stay in this little funk for a little bit, fortunately.
Sure, you're right.
And do you do anything with the Grow Your Own program, which is a program to cultivate teachers or students that want to go into the education field?
Not specifically. I know some local, like Lincoln University just started kind of like Grow Your Own program with educators. But we do not have a lot of kids. This year, actually, I think we have 3 or 4 interested in secondary education, but education is just not a sought after program.
I understand that. Are you aware of the Merit Scholarship Program then?
The mayor, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Mrs. Smith sent that to me and I got that out and hopefully our kids will take advantage.
Okay. Yeah, the last person that we had that got that scholarship was Molly Weaver, and she's
Oh,
teaching down in Dixon now.
yeah, it's been a while. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. 7.3, approve the COVID leave extension.
So right now, the extended leave that was put in place through the Family First Coronavirus Response Act is set to expire December 31st. I have not heard anything about it being extended, although that's always a possibility. So what that means is right now, for example, we could have a teacher gone this week because they tested positive for COVID and they are eligible for 80 hours of leave because that's a COVID-related illness. When we come back on January 4th, a teacher could test positive for COVID and they wouldn't be eligible for the 80 hours extended leave. I would like the board to extend that, and our attorneys have said that this is possible, that the board can agree to extend it for your district through June 30th, 2021, just through this fiscal year. I just feel like it's the right thing to do for teachers. You know, if teachers got 80 hours of leave before January 1st and for the same illness, don't get it after January 1st, I just feel like that's not equitable, and I would like to see us extend that as a district.
So currently, the 80 hours would be covered under this
Yeah.
COVID leave.
Correct. And it's 80 hours unless you're like a part-time employee. So if you work 20 hours a week, it's actually 40 hours. It would be whatever your 2-week average typically is.
That won't count against their sick leave then.
It will not. Yeah, and that's the what I was getting ready to say. So right now, if they take this leave, it doesn't count against their sick leave. It doesn't count against their accumulated leave. If this goes away and we don't extend it, then come January, it would go against their leave.
I'll make a motion to approve that COVID extended leave.
I have a motion by Mark,
I'll second the motion.
second by Lori. Further discussion? Now, this, if for some reason they would extend this, then
Yeah, it's it's extended.
any other questions? Comments? All in favor, right hand? 6-0. 7.4, discussion of 4-day week.
When we went to a 4-day week last year, one of the things that we said we would do was survey again this year to kind of determine how people felt about the 4-day week. So that survey was sent out. I provided you with quite a bit of information in your folder, one of which is the survey results. So I broke those down. For example, the first one is 5th and 6th grade students. So you can see the percentage that voted yes, the percentage that voted no, and the percentage that said either way is fine. And then in the rectangle at the bottom, I put either with the yeses, because they're going to be happy either way, and I put either with the no's, because they're going to be happy either way, so that you can kind of see those percentages together. So 5th and 6th grade, if you look at yes plus either, it was 92% who would be good with continuing a 4-day week. If you look at the no's plus the either's, it was 36%. And then I did the same for grades 7 through 12. So if you look at the yes and the either together, 7 through 12, it was 93.7% who would be fine, who would be yes, they would be okay with continuing the 4-day week. If you did the no's and the either's, it was 23.2%. And then going down to staff, if you looked at the yes and the either's for those, it was 92.2%. No and the either's, it was 14.1%. And then parent and community, yes plus either was 65.2%. No plus either was 49.8%. Then I just did, okay, let's combine all the students and look at all the students. So you can see again, yes and either 93%, no and either 27%. And that was just combining grades 5 through 12. And then I combined the staff and the students. And so again, if you look at the yes and the either's, it was 93%, no and the either's was 23%. And then I combined all of them together, staff, parents, and students. So if you put the yeses and the either's together, 79% would be in favor of continuing the 4-day school week. The no's and the either's was 37%. So those were just basic survey results. And then in your folder, I also had included just all of the comments, which obviously I'm not going to go through all of those because there's quite a few. But I also included some data just for comparison purposes. One of the things last year that we talked about when we were trying to determine whether or not to go to a 4-day week was staff retention and the sub shortage that we find ourselves in. We were in a sub shortage last year. This year, I would say it's a critical shortage. So if you look at staff absences through October 31st, last year at that time, we had 341 staff absences. This year, not including COVID absences, because I wanted to compare apples to apples, we had 167.5. So a significant decrease in staff absences. If you add COVID into those, which you can see there underneath that, it would add another 56 days. So that would be 223.5. So still 120 absences, essentially difference in the 2 years. So in looking at that educationally, obviously teachers in the classrooms are better for kids than having a sub in the classrooms. So it's nice to see that that is having an impact there because our teachers are in the classrooms more. Looking at it financially, I didn't just compare how much we had paid for subs last year at this point versus how much we paid for subs this year at this point, because we've had so many days where we couldn't find subs that we ended up covering things in-house. So I didn't want that to skew the data. So what I did was look at it as what we would have paid subs. So last year we paid subs $70 a day. If you take that times the 341 days, it would have approximately cost the district $23,870. And then this year, if you took it at $80 a day, it would have been about $13,400. So a difference of $10,470. And again, we've had such a sub shortage this year, I can tell you, and I don't know, Tracy and Michael could speak to this probably even better than I could. If we were in a year where we had 341 absences through October 31st this year, we probably would have had to have gone virtual because we just don't have the people to cover it. We don't have the subs to cover it. I don't think there's been a single day that we've not been short on subs and somebody's had to cover somewhere in the district. So that was from a staff absence standpoint. One of the things we talked about last year was that it might save the district a little bit of money. We knew that the cost savings wasn't going to be substantial. We were looking at it more from a teacher retention standpoint, but I just wanted to give you an idea of where we are. Again, this was through October 31st, comparison-wise from one year to another. So total at this point, from year to year, we've saved about $17,489.48. And then I just compared student membership so we could see where we are student membership wise, and that was our September student count. So we're up about 22 kids over where we were last year. Discipline referrals, this was through November 30th. For 1920 through November 30th, we had 249, and for this year we've had 100. And then attendance-wise, because COVID-related attendances do not count against our overall attendance, our attendance for non-COVID related last year through November was 96.09, and this year it's 95.10. So just some additional data I wanted to provide in case you wanted to see it. I'll be happy to answer any questions or you may have.
There were a lot of comments in the survey from, it looked like elementary, maybe middle school age parents. What was the discussion at the, apologize for not knowing, the discussion about two working parents and how that would impact them and how you would help reduce that burden?
You mean in terms of childcare?
In terms of childcare.
When we did the survey last year, one of the questions on the survey was if we went to a 4-day week, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember exactly how it was worded, but if we went to a 4-day week, would you need childcare? Or if we offered childcare, would you need access to that childcare? And honestly, there were very, very, very few parents who said yes, they would need access to that childcare. We then, one of the things that we had done was I had sent a survey to 30 4-day week schools, I think. 20 of those 30 responded. And of the ones that responded, one of the questions was, do you provide childcare on the day that you do not attend school? And every one that said that they had provided childcare when they first started said it ended up not being utilized, and so none of them provided childcare at this point. So between those two things, it was decided that we weren't going to go that route at that time.
Do you feel like most of the parents completed the survey? I know I never got a survey or saw one.
I can't tell you off the top of my head how many survey respondents there were. I mean, quite a few.
Well, I guess where I'm headed with that is this survey had some flaws with it too. I mean, I am concerned that we have working parents that this created burden. And I don't know, and the survey results kind of bear that out by a comment. Problem with the results I looked at, I couldn't tell if one set of parents responded 5 times with the same comment, or we have a lot of elementary aged students with parents that did
I
not have an
noticed
issue.
one of the suggestions, and it was childcare related, were, maybe using A+ students, or just, and it could be they didn't haven't asked, but is there a way to maybe reach out to the elementary parents and say, do you need childcare on that Monday? And I'm sure there's high school kids looking for a job to do on that day to maybe pair them up, whereas they could either make some extra money or A+ hours, something along that line.
And I
One
think
of
that
the-
was, my concern was that we're saving money, but we're pushing that burden onto the parents.
Right.
One of the things that Tracy, Michael, and Emma and I had already talked about was being the facilitators to try to pair up those that have childcare needs and facilitating the creation of a childcare provider list. And that's not necessarily meaning a daycare.
Right.
It's high school kids that, and especially if you're not from this area and haven't known people since
Right.
birth, you're not going to necessarily know that this high school child might provide childcare or, you know, even this parent,
Right.
that kind of thing. So that's one of the things we had talked about to help maybe relieve some of that burden, was that we could be the facilitator of creating that list and kind of talking to our parents to see who might need that, and then trying to make sure that they receive the information that they need
Right.
to be able to pair up.
Again,
So we
I
had
don't
talked
know
about
that really, the comments that I read, a lot of it was financial. I mean,
Yeah.
the concern
That's what
about
I was
financial
getting at,
burden,
that maybe there's A+ kids that could get,
volunteer hours.
Volunteer.
Here, maybe take some of that $17,000 savings and maybe even on a pilot basis, see if we did an open gym with a movie in the afternoon or something like that. Again, I don't know what is or isn't possible.
because the ones I noticed, they said it was hard because they couldn't find childcare for one day.
Right.
Daycares and the providers are in the area they didn't have the space to take those kids on that just for one day. Because they wanted their full week, where no one can afford, they couldn't afford to do that.
Right.
So that was kind of the comments I read.
I think some of the in-home providers, didn't some of the standards change for number of
Right, and their numbers
people
dropped.
that they could take care of, so that has
That's
licensed
hurt.
versus non-licensed, and I think licensed even changed the number of
Right, I think it's.
kids they could take, so.
And they have to count their relative kids now when
Right.
they used to have to.
It's made it hard.
Well, when I was looking through the questions, one of the answers that kind of impressed me and kind of hits the nail on the head. They said, you cannot measure the success of a 4-day week with our school/students experiencing so many disruptions due to quarantines. Instruction has not been the same, and teachers and students are behind. I feel another year of a 4-day week with a hopeful future that students would have to quarantine, the teachers can continue with a normal instruction routine, would allow everyone to analyze the success of the 4-day week even more.
And I'm not opposed to it. I mean, I know my kids like it and we like it as parents. I'm just worried about the folks that aren't fortunate like me that have a spouse that doesn't work. And so I really do think we need to have that discussion as to what can we do to help those parents.
And those A+ students go to kids' house, or would it have to be here? Shannon, can you answer that question?
No, they wouldn't have to be here, just basically for volunteering. It could not be a family member and they could not get paid. So. I mean,
And there's probably a list of
Yeah,
people that would want to do that probably.
I mean, I can ask the kids if that's something that you think that we need. I can ask the kids. I feel like it's going to be students, probably sophomores, who maybe don't have a job yet, probably can't drive. Because once the kids start driving and get jobs, they want to work all day on Monday to make that extra money.
Of course,
So
this might
that's
not,
what we consider. It'll probably be a 15-year-old. I mean, you
May
trust
not
your
be.
with a 15-year-old all day, I guess.
might not be the year to do it with COVID though.
Yeah.
I don't know that, just I don't know, places kids together.
I mean, it's just kind of something to think about, how to make that. And it may not necessarily just be A+ kids. It could be a job. I mean,
Right. And we may even, and this is why I said we could facilitate that to create a list. We may even
Right.
have some paras that want to make
well, yeah,
some,
Funny.
you know,
money, extra money.
extra on Mondays. But I think that's something that, as an admin team, we can work together to, first of all, assess who has that need. And then start helping those.
Try to figure
People
that out.
pair
I
up.
think.
I think would work well is if we could have something here, maybe have some paras, an adult here too, but then I can have like a sign up sheet where kids could sign to volunteer, because maybe they don't want to commit to every Monday, but maybe they can do one Monday a month to get their hours in or something like that.
Oh, yeah, good idea.
So I think we could work on that as a team to try to
Find
develop.
out the real need.
Right, right.
Well, I think if it was here too, and you were dealing with kids that can't drive, that eliminates the whole, how do I get to where the kids are gonna be, or you don't want your kids going to somebody else's house
Yeah.
necessarily,
Right.
so.
One other thing I got from questions on the survey, when you got to the part at the end where you said, please list other calendar considerations you'd like to have considered. A lot of people wanted to be able to start school earlier and like in the middle of August, like we used to. Well, I just want to put out there so that everybody knows that House Bill 604 by the legislature last year put a restriction on that. And that is that now each local school district may set its opening date each year, which date shall be no earlier than 14 days prior to the first Monday of September, which is when we started school this year. So by a law enacted by our legislatures in Jefferson City, that is the earliest that we'll ever be able to start school unless that law is changed.
I think that's early enough anyway.
And that 14 days follows 1 week after the Missouri State Fair.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was the biggest push on it, on reducing it, because they don't want the kids in school when the fair was going on with the decreased fair participation.
So yes, you're right. We can't start school any earlier than what we do.
So just those people that were hoping for that, it's not gonna happen.
Right.
And won't we be discussing this again when it comes up to the next year's calendar, which is later on?
We will, yes, we will start working on next year's calendar when we come back after Christmas. I would like to be able to have it ready for adoption by February, so we try to get faculty and staff input.
February, March is usually the
Right,
calendar.
Okay.
right. So.
Any other?
I mean, can we make a recommendation as to what, I mean, I'd like to see a couple of options for that Monday. Before we would vote on or we'd look any more depth, vote on the calendar. I'd like to see what could or couldn't be done. I mean, I'm not in favor of doing it 1 year and flipping and not doing it the next, but I'd really like to see what are the real needs? I mean, are there a lot of parents, or have we seen every parent that needs childcare and was put at a disadvantage by this?
I think that's what Dina said, her admin team would get that together for us. So I think that's what they're gonna work on. So,
Okay.
I mean, I think that's what I just heard you say. Am I correct?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we can put together a couple of options of how we might be able to meet that need if the need is,
There.
you know,
True.
legitimately there.
Yeah.
Right.
The tough part's gonna be, and I wonder if you'll see it in this, I mean, how are you gonna get to those students? I mean, you can't throw another survey on I mean, you're trying to get to a two working parent student that may not get to these online surveys.
Is it someone you could send a letter directly home with?
That's what I was
Each
thinking. We would send a paper.
Maybe send it home with their grade cards or something. this
Yeah,
next
to be
semester.
returned.
You got them all in.
Right.
What I would do.
Mhm.
Yeah, the teacher, especially at the elementary level, the teachers can really monitor who's sent back. They're just check them
Right.
off. And if, especially if it's a student that we suspect really has a need and we don't get a survey back, we can make a phone call and reach out to those parents. So that's something we can work on together as an admin team. Definitely.
Okay. Any further discussion? We'll move on to 7.5, set a special meeting date. I assume this is for the audit.
Yes. So the dates that I had set, or I had thought might be possible, were the 28th, 29th, or 30th of December. It can be held virtually or in person, so that's totally up to you guys. So whatever date you want to pick and time and method.
What dates did you say again? Sorry.
28th, 29th, or 30th.
I'm
I
going
mean,
on
we could
Christmas.
do the New Year's Eve, but I thought maybe you'd want to still do that.
You can't do New Year's Eve because it has to be uploaded to.
Oh, true. That's true.
Unless it's midnight, when it can be uploaded.
Yeah,
Then it's game on, then it's
I'm sure they'd be there waiting for it too, right?
countdown, I'll have a whole new meeting. Any of those days, whatever.
I'm good with any of those days, so
Fine with 20.
y'all just,
What'd you say, Lauren?
I'm good with any of them.
Mark, you're
I'm gone.
all of them?
I'm gone the whole week.
Well, I'm going to expect you to read the entire audit. Feedback.
I'll do that. On the last board meeting that.
Sean,
28th is probably the only one that's safe.
which one is the only one that's safe?
28.
28. Naomi, are you?
I'm fine with that.
Sam?
Yeah, that's
28?
fine.
Okay, so what time on the 28th do we want to do that? And do you want it just virtually or do you want it in person?
you probably have copies that you ought to hand out, so.
I just as soon do it in person.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Virtual.
comes like a handbook.
Yeah, your internet access is a
It's
little
better now. I got new
kind of
internet.
funny though.
Yeah.
It was,
Entertaining.
it was the outburst that got me.
Yeah.
Hey, your mic is on.
Do we want to stay at 6:30? Do we want to do it earlier than that?
Doesn't matter.
Yes.
Doesn't matter to me. 6:30? So can somebody put that in a motion so that we just have it on record?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we have a special meeting to approve the audit on December 28th at 6:30 PM here in the multipurpose room.
That motion by Dennis,
I'll second.
second by Lori. Further discussion? All in favor, right hand? 6-0. Announcements, next regular meeting will be January 19th, 2021. Entertain a motion to adjourn to closed session.
I'll make a motion to adjourn closed session, 5.6.0.021 Very. 01 legal. 03 personnel, 13 personnel records, 06 student.
We have a motion by Mark,
I'll second the motion.
second by Dennis. Further discussion? Roll call, Sean?
Yes.
Yes for me. Naomi?
Yes.
Yes.
Mark? Lori?
Yes.
Dennis? 6-0. 7:29.